Hello, please disregard this mess behind me. I just moved. This is Madison Stevens recording for English Literature 2, Dr. Martin's class, regarding Paterson by William Carlos Williams. I think I said in one of my previous responses that modernist and naturalist works, they often feel like you read them and you get to the end and nothing's really happened. Nothing's changed. You go from one thing to another and the story is just showing you the way that things are. You just kind of have to sit with that feeling. Paterson feels this way. Paterson feels like there's nothing really to root for, but there's this endless number of different branching stories that are circled around the town of Paterson. I'm a very nostalgic and sentimental person, and I think my spouse has told me that I could become attached to a quarter if I encountered it in the right scenario, and they're right. And I feel like Paterson was probably made for people like me. Incredibly nostalgic, sentimental people who will read about all of these mundane things and find the beauty in them. And I think it's the fascination with the mundane that really makes this poem bizarrely precious. There's nothing truly phenomenal about Paterson. It reads like a diary of a city. Like the city is recording its life and the way that it lives many lives through the people who are within it, recording the days and the changes and the swings back and forth between nature and progress and beauty and corruption. Unlike a lot of naturalist and modernist works that I found, there is an aspect of transformation because it follows Paterson through a period of time. And I feel like it's a poem that tracks the formation of an identity. It's the identity of a city, and if it's the city's diary, it feels like the city is examining every piece of the people within it and forging its own identity through those pieces. And that's why it feels like every bizarre, mundane, boring piece of it is really special. It's held by the poem, and you're forced to look at it, and the formatting of the poem even, it forces your attention onto things that you otherwise might not spend a lot of time thinking about, because it wants you to consider those things important. Williams published some of these bits and pieces independently while he was writing the larger piece. And then when it came time to publish, he put them into one big amalgam and called it Paterson. And I think that the choice to do that must be significant. There's a reason why he wanted it to be considered as one whole rather than the independent bits. And I think it feels more like a many-faced creature, but it's one thing. And you're forced to look at it as the one thing. That is part of its identity, is that why would you give it one name? It's all got to be considered the same thing. The book is one thing, and the man who wrote it another. The conception of time in literature and in chronicles make it easy for men to make such hoax cleavages. I think that Williams, what he wanted more than anything was for the poet, the speaker, and the poem itself to be one thing. And unless you consider the whole, you'll never understand it. It will be rendered false because it does not have the entirety of its identity to consider. I think that's why he published it the way that he did. He wants you to consider the good and the bad as a piece of the whole. Things unmentionable, the sink with the waste farina in it and lumps of rancid meat, milk bottle tops, here have a tranquility and loveliness, a compliment tranquil and chaste. He romanticizes the idea of death and rot as this kind of beloved affliction. There's the love-hate relationship with decay, wherein the identity of Paterson, all of its many stories, they don't mean anything unless you consider it as a whole. The city of Paterson is sick. My interpretation is that the city of Paterson is sick. and it's dying in every little way with signs of decay and all of these many branching stories. You can see as it's changing and evolving, there are pieces of it that are going to fall away and die and rot, because that's how things go over time. That's just kind of the nature of things. But the poet's relationship with this rot is complicated. I have a disability related to a chronic condition in which my body tries to destroy itself on occasion. And my relationship with my illness is complex because it's an awful thing. It's painful. It's decay. It's feeling the gravel under my feet and knowing that somewhere down that road I'm standing on is death. And yet it's not separate from me. And it's certainly not separate from the way I live my life. It's the reason why I have friendships that fulfill me more than I had even before knowing about my chronic condition. Death lies in wait, a kindly brother full of missing words, the words that never get said, a kindly brother to the poor. There are certain things that don't get said until you know that time runs out eventually, that things aren't always going to be good. And unless you know and understand that, you're living an incomplete life. The other day, I sat in the car while all of my friends went to the gas station for snacks. We were on a road trip, and I couldn't walk anymore that day for the audacity of walking around an IKEA for 2 hours. I had spent all of my spoons for the day, but all of my friends, in groups of 2 or 3 or one by one, they came to visit me, and they came to the window of the car and they showed me their snacks and they hugged me through the window and they told me about their plans for the day, and I didn't feel excluded. I wasn't missing out. I was having an experience that I wouldn't have otherwise had. It was just me and my friends who accommodate me without even thinking about it. They make me part of their lives because they love me, and being in my life means being around my illness and understanding that it shapes me. And it's incredibly special, and it's a love that I never would have known without being who I am. So, do I hate being chronically ill? Sure, but it's, how do you hate a part of yourself? It shapes the edges of my life in the way that those edges meet the lives of others, and that's special and important to me, even though the shaping of it isn't ideal. It's unique. I think that Paterson is about that too. An old bottle, mauled by the fire, gets a new glaze, the glass warped to a new distinction, reclaiming the undefined. There's a recurring theme in Paterson of transformation by fire, by decay, by rot, things that are growing from fertile soil that's fertile because of the death that has been there. You can't consider one without the other, and it's through that fire and decay that things are made into such unique and precious shapes. Beauty is a defiance of authority. I really loved that line. Beauty is a defiance of authority. For they were unwrapped fragment by fragment, from outer mummy cases of paper mache inside Egyptian sarcophagi, flying papers from old conflagrations, picked up haphazard by the undertakers to make molds, layer after layer for the dead. Beautiful thing. The anthology suppressed, revived even by the dead, you who understand nothing of this. But the pathetic library must go down also, because it is silent. It is silent by defect of virtue, in that it contains nothing of you. That which should be rare is trash, because it contains nothing of you. They spit on you, literally, but without you, nothing. The library is muffled and dead, but you are the dream of dead men. Beautiful thing. A library is a collection of stories. And yet without you, without the truth, the balance of good and bad and mundane and special, there's no meaning in it. You can't have anything unless you have everything. You must accept all of it if you want any of it to be beautiful. The stories of people are only valuable if they contain the entirety of them. And I think part of what Williams is trying to achieve with Paterson is the immortalization of a modern man. I say modern, it's quite an old poem. Everyone wants to be remembered and immortalized as they were. You are the dream of dead men. Beautiful thing. And I struggled reading this poem. It was not fun at times, and I struggled talking about it because obviously I have feelings about transformation and death and whatnot. But I think my favorite line of the poem makes for a good sign off of this. After reading through a lot of nonsense and nonsensical things that were made beautiful for the fact that they were around. They were made beautiful by the fact that someone found them beautiful. And it was all buried in nonsense. 3 books of it. And the line is, American poetry is a very easy subject to discuss, for the simple reason that it does not exist.